All right, class, last lecture video for this chemistry chapter. So in this, we're going to talk about some of our organic compounds. Now, what we're going to really focus on are what we're going to call biologically important molecules. Biologically important molecules. So there's a lot of different kinds of organic compounds. Since we're studying biology and not organic chemistry, what we're focusing on are the ones that are important for biology. Carbohydrates. Okay, so what we'll do with these categories, there's a ton of stuff we can do with each of these. What I'm just going to do is give you a couple of examples, 2 or 3 examples, and then some basic ideas of what do organisms use these things for. Okay, so for carbohydrates, examples, things like glucose, sucrose, which is table sugar, lactose, which is the sugar in milk. So those are some pretty common ones: glucose, sucrose, lactose. Okay, and then what we're using these things for, again, in organisms, in living things, we're going to use these to make something called ATP, which I'm going to mention later on. It's on the last part of this list. So we use carbohydrates to make ATP. That's the big thing. Okay, and then sometimes we do actually store these. Okay, so our body can store carbohydrates, but even if we're storing them, when we go back to get them, we're going back to get them to make ATP. All right, so that's kind of the big deal with the carbohydrates. Okay, proteins. Okay, for proteins, some common examples. Now these are common examples. You may not necessarily have heard of all these things, but these are all common proteins. So in hair and skin, there's a protein called keratin. Okay, in skin and bones and cartilage and ligaments, all kinds of stuff in your body, there's a protein called collagen. And then in our blood, there's a protein called hemoglobin. Right, so those are all pretty reasonably common kinds of proteins that we have. Okay, and then functionally, a couple of big things we see with proteins. Proteins, not all of them, but some proteins are enzymes. And enzymes are things that help chemical reactions. The metabolism in your body, how the cells in your body use chemicals, those are all the chemical reactions, and enzymes are used to help all those things. So proteins can function as enzymes, and then there's a lot of them that are for structure and support. Like collagen, for example, it's probably the most important one in your body for structure and support. Okay, 3 are lipids. Right, so the lipids are things like fats, oils, and waxes. So fats, oils, waxes. So, fat really for real, like fat tissue in your body has lipids. Oils, like your cooking oils, olive oil, corn oil, peanut oil, all those things are lipids. Okay, so predominantly with the fats and oils, what they are for is storage. And we're going to say storage of energy, and that's going to change a little bit later on when we talk about something else. So the more it'll be more specific later on, I should say. It really doesn't change, but it gets a little more specific. Okay, so that's primarily what fats and oils are for, is kind of an energy storage. You hear about animals that have to migrate, like birds that fly south in the winter or something like that, how they try to store up lots of fats, right? They eat lots of seeds that have oils and things like that. So that hopefully they can have enough of an energy store to make it wherever they're heading. All right, and then nucleic acids. So this is kind of the one category that's probably the least common with these things. Nucleic acids are going to be DNA, RNA, and ATP. Right, so you know that DNA in your cells. So DNA is the genetic material. We'll have a whole section later on DNA and what does it mean to say it's the genetic material. But you've heard of DNA, even if you don't know exactly what it is. You've kind of heard of DNA being your genetic material. Hey, RNA is going to be used in cells to make proteins. So all those proteins we talked about up here, if we want to make these things in your cells, we've got to have RNA functioning to help with that. And then ATP is our energy source. Okay, most organisms use ATP as an energy source. Right, and I told you that for the lipids we were going to say something a little different than storage of energy. So there's a few things that kind of connect here. Right, for our carbs we said makes ATP. Down here for our lipids we said storage of energy. And then here with ATP we're saying that's an actual energy source. So anytime the cell needs to get energy, it's using ATP for that. Hey, this is what cells use. Now, generically, you may just think about it, if you feel kind of tired, you say, I need some energy. Like, what do? You may eat a candy bar or something like that. And that candy bar is going to have carbs, fats, proteins. It's going to have all that stuff in it. So it's easy to think that the carb is what the energy is, or the fat is what the energy is. But honestly, all of those things are then just used to make ATP. So that's how they're providing energy, is they're being used in chemical reactions that end up making ATP, which is then what the cell is going to use as an energy source. All right, so there's our section on biologically important organic molecules.